So the past year, I can approach this a couple ways. I can approach it as an executive, and then I can approach you as an editor and writer and the stories like that. So let's start as an executive. This year is a little more challenged than the last few years. We've seen a big decline in graphic novel sales. Digital sales have sort of peaked and actually have declined a little bit too. Periodical sales have remained constant, so you see us putting more and more efforts into periodicals. I get nervous when we start to sell books more horizontally than vertically. What that means is that we sell multiple covers of a single title, then multiple titles. So as a publisher, I don't feel that's a long-term healthy strategy. So a lot of what we've done this year is to correct that, to focus more on story, more on character, and also more on talent. Because realistically, we have an audience right now that is so well versed in everything that we do. They know all our characters intimately. They seem to know all our talent intimately, maybe too intimately, based upon how they talk online. So my opinion is that we have to build the best books, best products. So first things first, that we went out strong with Metal this year. I think that was an important statement. Launch of Doomsday Clock, another important statement that we had out there, because they're two very different styles of story running simultaneously that really show the full breadth of the DC universe. Metal really gets you that point of view that you can be wild, expansive, crossing over multiple books. Doomsday Clock is a single event-style story that rolls out much more succinctly, and I think really builds to a great conclusion. So those two things were a really great start. Then also we brought in Brian Bendis, which we brought him in this year, and we're about to see him for the first time at the end of the month with his first issue of Man of Steel in May. And I think that's an important thing for us too, because here's this person so clearly identified with Marvel coming over to DC and bringing his style of story and a fresh set of eyes to the DC universe, especially with our most popular and one of our most, almost long-standing characters is Superman. So a lot of great stuff there. Then we also are keeping things, because since Batman is our most important character, we have a lot of fun stories, and Tom has been really telling a great story with that. And what you saw this year too was Tom pushing a really interesting story with Batman and Catwoman, helping build that relationship, that personality for Batman. While on the other side, on Detective, you had James Tynion really playing with the Batman family and showing the full scope of the Batman family. So a lot of pieces start to seem to be falling into place and things happening along those lines. So I felt like we were getting a lot of our ducks back in a row. From my point of view, one of the things that I say this, and I mean it in the nicest way possible, one of the things I absolutely hated was Infinity War. And the reason why I hated Infinity War is because it did comics better than comics is doing right now. You know, it told a great story of characters interacting. It showed plot development, interconnectivity. You see buildings, the sense of threat, the sense of scope. They did so many things in Infinity War that comics should be doing. And they took all of our things and did it better than us. So what that became is a call to arms for us, saying, if movies could be better than comics, then comics have to be better again. We need to evolve and we need to grow. So when we did DC Nation Zero, it was to show three distinctive points of view. But the goal is to take those 3 points of view and really drive one single universe. That's not one big story, but something that has so many different shades and gradations to it. But at the end, you can see it's one big shared immersive world. Just like you're seeing in film, in some ways just like you're seeing in TV with all the CW, DC shows. We want to build that shared universe again at DC. And I feel that with the people that we have working for us right now, there's a great sense of camaraderie and really pushing their stories. If you look at what Scott's doing with the Justice League books, he's really pushing the cosmic angles of that. And then you have Brian Bendis coming in, reinterpreting some of Superman's history, but staying true to what it was. Actually, not much different than what Scott did during Court of Owls. When Scott did Court of Owls, he added new lore that was additive to the universe, not replacing. And I think that's what Brian is doing well. He's finding ways to add new ideas into Superman's world. And the goal is to take that cosmic sensibility that Justice League has and take it and add it to what's going on in Superman and show that it's one big cosmic universe in the DCU with multiple things happening. Then back on Earth, you get a chance to see what's happening here. A lot going on with the Batman books. And Tom's really leading the charge there between the wedding with Batman and then also this big story with Sanctuary that he's building towards, which is not the name of the book.
What is the name of the book?
I would love to tell you, but not today. But the good part about it is that there's so much going on, and our goal for this next year coming up is really to build the connective sense of the universe. Realize that you can read every story independently, but when you read multiple pieces, you all feel like it's all taking place in the same world, and all those stories are additive to each other, so it expands the experience rather than shrinks it or single focus to it. And the more stories we push out and the more background that seems familiar, I think that's a bigger win for DC. Oh yeah, well this year alone, we introduced what was the concept was New Age of Heroes. And I had 8 new books introduced this year with most of them the characters are brand new characters of the DCU with hooks and ties. The ones that we launched a book called Damage that actually has ties back to things that you might recognize from the old JSA stories, some of the ideas that were floating there. Then we also did a new character called Silencer, who has ties to the League of Assassins and Talia al Ghul. We have a book called Sideways, which I'm writing, and in Sideways you've got a storyline that actually spins out of Metal and moves into the Dark Multiverse and features a lot of characters of the DCU. You got the Terrifics, which is showing 4 characters that were part of the DCU in a brand new way and actually bringing us into Tom Strong's world, which actually expands the universe even more. Then on top of that, I'm doing it all from memory, you gotta forgive me. I've got...
But do you think like this needs to be like more, like creating new characters needs to be kind of the forefront of the agenda?
It has to be. What we do when we're creating new characters, we're identifying where we think there's voids in our storytelling, and we're creating characters to fill those voids. And also, we also know the importance of pushing diversity through our line, and it's important for us to be able to do that. So the way we push diversity is by creating new characters to fill those voids rather than reinterpreting old characters and splitting our fan base. We want to keep our fans focused on the characters they love, while we add new characters that we hope they fall in love with. I think, honestly, it's that ebbs and flows. It depends on the moment, depends on the situation, depends on the noise around you. I mean, we were very aggressive when I first started at DC. One of the first books that I really wanted to see happen, and one of the books I championed more to set the tone of the DC Universe was Identity Crisis. Something that people question today whether I could ever reprint that again or not, or do the same style story. And the goal is to be able to take risks and to push the limits of the storytelling as long as it makes sense. And it works to the characters and adds to the story and helps us build more story from it. So if I feel there's something that somebody's taking a risk for, I got to know how it impacts what's going on in front of us, and then more importantly, how it impacts and creates story going forward. And if you see great opportunities created from a story idea, you want to try those things. I briefly mentioned about the Sanctuary idea that Tom's working on. I see the Sanctuary story to be this year's Identity Crisis. Which is exciting to me because I feel it's time to really plant that flag and be aggressive again and get people excited about what's going on in comics.